ninth broadcast. Um, we are very, very excited about this movement that we've created called Impacting Life 24/7, and we're also very thankful for the audiences that we have built relationships with, those on Facebook and YouTube and Instagram, and folks all over the country and around the world are now connecting with this broadcast and podcast. Impacting Life 24/7 has been birthed out of a desire for us to constantly give people an opportunity to enhance and improve themselves. We find that this human architecture that we call life oftentimes throws curveballs at us, and we are not necessarily prepared for what life brings our way. And so, what I decided to do, in addition to traveling around the city, state, and country, I've decided that I wanted to make something available to people who can come in at their own leisure, be a part of it at their own leisure, and experience enhancement from someone who has, let's just say, stumbled and fell and tragically and epically made mistakes along the way of life, but still trying to see and navigate through those things. And what I want to do is share that. So perhaps maybe some of you that are traveling down life's dusty road won't have to go through some of the things that I went through. I will readily admit to you that I feel like I am an SME on life, subject matter expert, because at least with my life, I have found that it never goes the way I think it's going to go. And so it's important that we don't just throw things together, that we plan strategically. I want to share with you a few steps to help you in your life strategically. Okay, so welcome to our friends on YouTube. Welcome to our friends on our Impacting Life 24/7 podcast. And hello to our friends on Facebook Live. And so this is a Sunday edition of Impacting Life 24/7. We love for you to subscribe to our broadcast. It can be found on major outlets like Spotify and Google Play. Of course, you can see us always live here on Facebook and on YouTube. We recognize that here in the high definition studios of CL King Group Incorporated, that our purpose and our mission, our endeavor has been the same since we started this journey. 2009 is when we started this journey to impact one life, one day at a time. And we do that from a leveraging perspective. We try to take our message and leverage it across multiple platforms, whether that be in person to inspire people, whether that be on our podcast, which can be heard around the world, or whether it be on social media. So here's the deal. What I've watched and what I've witnessed and noticed from people trying to get traction and trying to gain exposure is that they don't necessarily know the benefit of strategic planning. The purpose behind planning is so powerful and it's so important that I wanted to do a session. I wanted to do a podcast on this to help people in their endeavors to succeed. Now, here's the deal. If you do not have a plan and you do not ascribe to some sort of rudimentary approach to what you want to accomplish, you will fail. You will definitely fail. Hello to my cousin, Nisi Jordan. Love you. And so if you do not set out with a plan, you will fail. You'll fail miserably. Why? Because you have not taken the time and counted the cost for what it takes to get where you want to go. Here's what I can apply that to. I can apply that to literally everything that we do in life. So I'm going to give you 5 steps. 5 steps. Very, very simple steps, but they are a part of the dynamic approach called Lean Six Sigma. I am a certified green belt of Lean Six Sigma. I went through a major course provided by the George Group years ago. And I utilize this training, this continuous process improvement training, to help train others on how to improve themselves. And that is important, ladies and gentlemen. It's not just something that you do, it's something that you live. And strategic planning is important. The first thing that you must do, are you ready, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to all of those tuning in to our live broadcast, Impacting Life 24/7 with your host, CL King. The first step is to define what it is you want to do. Most people do not define. They don't sit down and say, okay, the letter D, this is what I'm going to do. All right, I'm going to define. I am going to define. Let's see if this D looks good on there, okay? I'm going to define, okay? I am going to define, letter D. I'm going to define what it is my goal is. What do I want to do? Some people are already at the finish line and they have not defined. They have not taken the time to say, okay, this is what I want to do. I had to do this even as a professional speaker. I had to say, okay, King, you're kind of like all over the place. You're talking about bullying one week, and you're talking about this one week, and you're talking about that, and you're like, you're running from place to place, and 1 minute you're talking to a 90-year-old group of, oh my goodness, I don't know what they were, but they invited me to come speak to them, and I'm just like, okay, I'm all over the place. Let me define what it is that I truly want to do. I had to define that. And so in defining that, I realized that impacting life one day at a time was going to have me on a broad spectrum of intersections where my skill set or the things that I did would be utilized. Like, what's your niche, man? What is it that you want to do? I want to use my 30 plus years of experience to assist people in accomplishing their goals and their dreams in life. The first thing you must do is define it. Okay, I'm giving you the Lean Six Sigma continual process improvement definition and landscape for what you need to do to improve. This is called strategic planning, ladies and gentlemen. Some events that I have been to, I could tell that there was absolutely no planning. Y'all just said, oh, let's go ahead and have this, blah, blah, blah. And the next thing you know, it's just, and you can tell people didn't think about the smallest details, and that's important. The next thing after you define what you want to do, you must, okay, this is D. Okay, this is called the DMAIC process. So for those of you taking notes, it's going to be called the DMAIC process. And this is the first letter in the acronym, define. The second letter is M, which is measure. Okay, when you're going to begin an activity or you want to plan something, it is important that you measure the needs and requirements for what it is you want to do. Oftentimes, the reason why people are not successful is because they have not measured, hey, where am I? What is my skill set? What do I bring to the table? And if I have not measured the requirements, I can find myself ill-prepared to do the thing that I said I wanted to plan, I wanted to do. I defined and I did not successfully measure myself or measure the requirements. And so what I do is I get myself in trouble because I have not successfully, strategically gone through the rudimentary steps to get myself to the end goal. So define is the second element in getting yourself prepared to do what you want to do. Now, here's the deal. Some people say, well, that's really just, that's just kind of elementary. And why would I find myself doing that? Here's why. Because you must realize that not everything that you have in your mind is what everybody else is going to have in their mind. And if you don't give people a roadmap, if there's not some sort of strategic platform in which you can traverse forward, you will find yourself throwing things together. And that's what bothers me when I see people trying to get forward in life, that they just throw it together. They don't put any thought into it. The first thing that you got to do is you got to clearly define, okay, look, I want to save $1,000 in 6 weeks. That's the plan. Here's the next step. The first step was define. The second step is measure. And measuring where you are, measuring what you have in resources. So if I want to save $1,000 in 6 weeks, I got to realize what my current landscape is. Define. Second step is measure. That's what I'm saying. Measure yourself. Measure the landscape. Look at it. The third step is to analyze. Analyze. Yeah, analysis is important. Analysis is so important in strategic planning. Now, I know for y'all that aren't really into this, that's okay. But I wanted to share, really spend time on my podcast to tell people that you don't want to just throw things together. You want to have a strategic plan. And what I wanted to do is give you the roadmap that I utilize when I'm training leaders, and I'm using it for myself to help better keep you in line. Your swim lanes are clearly defined. First one is define. Second one is measure. Third is analyze. You want to have an analysis of the current, like for example, if I want to save $1,000 in 6 weeks, I've got to analyze the how, and all the things that are in the how determine whether or not I can do it. I can't just set this grandiose plan and not have true analysis. Can you even afford to save $10 a week to get to where you want to go? Have you analyzed where you want to save the money? Are you going to put it in a jar? Are you going to put it in your bank? And if you put it in your bank, what's the growth percentage? What's the growth potential? You've got to analyze the whole landscape. When I teach this on bullying prevention, and I talk about what about the bully, the A in analyze is, have you guys looked at his home life? Have you analyzed his or her home life? I did that one time, and I was helping a young person who was dealing with bullying. And what we did was we had to say, stop dropping the hammer on this kid that is doing the bullying, because there's more to the story. They did not analyze the kid's life. And so when we dug in and started doing some analysis, we found that the kid just wanted to go home. That's why he was doing it. That's why he was bullying other kids, because he wanted to be at home. So I dug further. See, analysis continues. It is like, okay, I've got to get to the root cause. That's RCA, root cause analysis. And I look at this young man's life, and I found out that his dad committed suicide at his house. His dad committed suicide at his house. So here's what he did. He decided to come to school and act out and bully other kids so that he could go home and be at the last place that he saw his dad. Now, I'm not trying to get mushy on this podcast, but what I am telling you is that analysis is important. Measuring yourself and then analyzing the whole landscape, looking at everything, all the details, peeling back the onion, doing the hard work that a lot of people do not like to do. They do not like to analyze. Can you possibly do this? That's the A. The fourth step in making sure y'all ain't throwing stuff together and really truly analyzing how you can be successful. The I comes next in the demand process. I is improve. Define, measure. Hello, my dear friend. and greatest boss on the planet, Randy Sigler. Define, measure, analyze the whole landscape. And the fourth step is improve. You've got to make the improvements. You can't just say, I want to do something and not truly begin to improve. Do you know that most businesses are going to look to revamp their total marketing landscape about once every 5 years? Have you noticed how Walmart is so successful? Because they are constantly looking to improve. One of the things that I noticed about them is that right after Christmas, the very next day after Christmas, you can walk into a Walmart. Now, obviously, you're going to see people in there returning all the junk that they didn't want, but you can walk into a Walmart and you will not find the faintest hint of Christmas advertisement. The only thing that you'll see about Christmas is the discounted items shoved off into a corner somewhere where they want to get rid of. Why? Because it's time to improve. It's time to go on to the next thing. It's time to get our mindset out of Christmas and get our mindset into, what do they do next? Valentine's Day. That is called improving. You must constantly take the steps to improve. I do that even as a speaker. Some people would sit back and watch how I live and how I govern myself as a speaker, and they would say, "Man, you are just a narcissistic, egotistical, crazy person." Because here's what I do. After every speech, after every podcast, after every live, I go back and listen to what I said dozens of times because I want to make sure that the next time I speak, I try to make an improvement. That's important in life. Improving is important. YouTube family, those of you watching on YouTube, listening to us on our podcast or watching live on Facebook, we welcome all of you to our Impact Life 24/7 podcast. This is episode number 29. Looks like we just started, and I'm so excited that folks are coming along with us on this journey. So I have laid out with my Lean Six Sigma background, 30 years of leadership experience, a roadmap for you to take to stop throwing events together and start getting them organized in a way that people can consume the whole event and leave with something great. You can do this for your individual life, and you can do this for if you're trying to be someone that's impacting others. Define what it is you want to do. Measure yourself and the resources and capabilities that you have and what it's going to take to get there. Analyze the whole landscape to get all the details to see if your event is even required. See if what you're doing is even going to make it. See if people are even going to participate. I'm hosting a free live training this coming Saturday. It's called Gear. It's my brand new training. I've never taught this before. It's brand new. I went into the lab to teach people a systematic step to get out of being stuck in their business, get out of being stuck in their entrepreneurship, get out of being stuck in a relationship, and it's called Gear. But guess what? Even I have to find ways to improve because for some reason I can't get that event to be seen by others. And I can't figure it out on Facebook. Every time I post it, people are telling me that it says the content is not available. And I don't even know what to do to fix it. But that's called improvement. You constantly, you can't just fire and forget. Okay, you can't just toss the fishing line out there and think that that's going to be enough to satisfy. You've got to constantly improve. Fishing is a great example of improvement. Did you know that? Yeah, and I enjoy fishing. I love fishing in my kayak, or I love the peaceful tranquility of it. But here's the deal. I don't go into the lakes, rivers, streams, and ponds around here in the glorious city of Jacksonville, North Carolina, and throw my line and just sit there and wait for something to happen. No. If I'm seeing that I'm throwing to the same spot Some of y'all are trying the same thing and you're not moving anywhere else. You're not improving. You're not strategizing. You're not looking to see if you can do things better. Even if it starts out bad, look for ways to do better. If my training, the first training I'm offering online for free to all of America, if I get 5, 10, 15 people to attend, and I've got thousands of contacts, I realize that, okay, I fished there. Now what can I do to improve for the next time? So define, measure, analyze, improve. Look and seek to improve. YouTube family, those of you watching on YouTube, you must have a mechanism and a plan to improve where you started from. I went to an event in October of last year, and it was called Motion. It was one of the greatest events for church and leadership improvement that I have ever been to. One of the greatest. It was, in fact, the greatest. And the reason why it was so great, Pearland, Texas, it looked like they covered every single detail. There was over 1,000 people there from 40-something different states. And when you went into the breakout sessions, they had the chairs covered with these high quality coverings that you would see at a banquet that a caterer would use. They had the trash cans that you threw your lunch tray or whatever away in. Those were covered with a high class covering. So you didn't look at it like a trash can. It was actually very elegant. And I was like, man, they went to the bathroom and they had mouthwash and shaving kit and lotion and deodorant all right in a basket for you. They thought literally of everything. And when I say improvement is important, you must seek to put out a product, an end product that improves every time you do it. And the last one is control. Define, measure, analyze, improve. And the last one is control. Listen, if you're going to step out, and some people step out and start a business, okay? They want to step out away from just punching a 9 to 5 clock. That's kind of my goal. My goal has been for now since 2009 to be able to not punch a clock, but to be able to serve my purpose and reach out to as many tens of thousands and millions of people that I can, and I can have freedom to be able to go do that. I'm very, very thankful for the job that I have, but my goal is to try to be able to do this full time. And so to control that, you must be able to listen. You can, again, when I say improvement is important. Improvement is like, okay, every so often, which should be often, I need to look at my processes and see, okay, did I do well? Now to control it, you got to go back and review your steps. And you see, okay, listen, I started a business, right? And every month, the revenue and profit margins have been going down. So you don't have control over that right now. You must do something to control your destiny. The last part of any type of continuous process improvement is what I'm teaching you not to just throw stuff together, but you must control. In other words, if I am creating a product, I must create something that people want to come back to time and time again. I've got to create such a ravenous desire from my market that people want to come back. If I do that, then I control my platform. I control the architecture of my future. And when you take that step to control, that means you are saying, I am going to put benchmarks, barriers, and benefits in place so that I don't lose control. When I teach this on what about the bully, the control is this: give the young person control back over their life. You cannot continue to punitively affect young kids if they're bullying. You can't continuously drop the hammer on them. If you're finding that what your interventions are doing and you have shown the kid to how to improve, then you must return control back to them. Aha. See, you must return control back to them. And so what I'm telling you is that if you're going to define, measure, analyze, improve, you've done all of that with your process, then you must find the mechanism that gives you unlimited control. All right. So those are the 5 continuous process improvements that are the discipline of Lean Six Sigma, of which I am a certified Lean Six Sigma green belt. And one of the passions that I have is training people on how to effectively go through a process. The process is so important. Listen, on February the 22nd, 2019 at 10 a.m. right here on the CL King Incorporated Network, you can find a training that I'm going to be doing. It's called GEAR, GEAR. I'm so excited to be able to do my first online training to help businesses, organizations, individuals who may feel stuck in where they are get in gear. It's time to get in gear for 2020, and that is what I'm going to be teaching. It's going to be a live, free online seminar that I'm offering to everyone, and I would hope that you would tune in. It starts at 10 a.m. Sharply right here on the CL King Incorporated Network page. And also you can find and listen to this because I'm going to do it live on our podcast. So we're looking forward to being able to do our very, very, very first training. It's going to be exciting. People are going to get reinvigorated. And I want you to share when you see the advertisement, once I get it fixed and figure out how to do it right, I want you to share it and tell people, hey, look, man, there's going to be something that's free. Sometimes, obviously when I go and I travel, those events that I do are not free. And when I do workshops and seminars, there are fees associated with it. But in this particular case, I wanted to offer a training that is free. So I've given you the 5 Lean Six Sigma steps that I utilize and help to train other organizations on how not to just be throwing stuff together. We got to get that right, because some events I go to, it seems like there was absolutely no planning involved. That affects the potential contacts and partnerships that you could have if you do not think of the details. Like if you're going to host an event at a facility, and you have a large crowd, you got a large turnover, here's what you got to remember to do. You got to remember to make sure to take care of all the essential details. In other words, if the bathrooms run out of toiletries, that's a reflection on you. You said, I want to hold an event. You said, this is our passion. So you measured. The first thing you did, define, I want to hold an event. I want to host an event for battered women. Great. You defined, you measured. Yeah, this is something that has been a part of our heartbeat as an organization. We have years of teaching and doing workshops and lectures for battered women. So you measured yourself. This is what I'm capable of doing. Analyze. Is there a need for it? Do people want it? Is this something that people would gravitate to? That's the 4th step. Define, measure, analyze. This is the 3rd step. Analyze. Improve. The next thing that you must do is you must activate the improvement process, so that don't just start with, it's got to go from being on paper to actually being something that you can see and visualize. And when you analyze and improve, here's what I'm telling you. You said, okay, people want a workshop on battered women. And so we're going to give a workshop, and we're going to make sure that every single detail that is important to the human interaction is covered. And then finally, control. If you're going to host an event, how do you get control of it? How do you do that? Here's what you do. You get people to buy in. You get people to connect. You give them a next step. You don't just say, okay, you came to my event, you got some information and you left. No, there's got to be some sort of next step to connect with you so that you can continue to have relations. And those relations may turn into business opportunities, an opportunity for you to have them as a customer. No, I wouldn't hold it against you, Randy. If you took a pass, you're the man. I love you. This is just a general teaching for those involved in processes. So no. You're great, man. I talk about you all the time, Randy. I'm very thankful. So those of you listening on our podcast, we obviously do a live um, broadcast on Facebook. And so when you hear me interacting with my audience, it's just simply the reason why we do this, because we wanted it to be authentic, wanted it to be laid back, and we just wanted it to be something that we can connect with. Randy is an example of someone that I feel America owes a great debt to. He's a great man. He was a great leader at our organization. And Randy, I salute you. God bless you, man. So anyway, those are the 5 steps of leadership process improvement and for strategic planning. Define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. You must have all 5 of those. All right, so February the 22nd, 2020, I will be hosting a live training called Gear. You don't want to miss it. I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. This has been your host, CL King, telling you, impact one life, one day at a time. God bless you. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you next time.